Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Disruptors. Today we have Ryan Pineda, who flew in from Vegas to talk about how he went from baseball to crushing real estate to becoming an influencer. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm Steve Trang, sales trainer, and I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires. If you get value out of the show, please tag a friend below or share this episode right now. That way we can all grow together. So, real simple is tell us how you got into entrepreneurship.
Man, so I never even thought about entrepreneurship growing up, you know? I think today with social media, it's kind of cool. And people are like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be an influencer. I want to be a YouTuber or wholesaler or whatever. And it wasn't like that for me. When I was in high school, and that makes me feel older, but back when I was in high school, all I cared about was playing baseball. Like, that was it. It was never like, man, what job am I going to get? What business am I going to open? It was just play baseball, don't worry about anything else. But even my friends and everyone I talked to, nobody thought about being an entrepreneur. It was just, all right, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be whatever. So the word entrepreneur was never something I thought about. Fast forward, you know, I get out of high school. I go to college, taking this route. But for me, at that point, I still knew college wasn't really anything for me. I just went for baseball.
Yeah.
Ended up getting drafted by the Oakland A's. And I ended up finishing my college degree too. So I got a degree in economics. You know, I'm playing baseball and I'm realizing that, man, I'm not making any money, you know, doing this. I'm making $1,200 a month. So
$1,200 a month.
$1,200 a month, yeah. So
it's not glamorous as it looks.
No, and I was 21 and I'm just sitting there like, man, what am I going to do with my life to make money? So I just fell into entrepreneurship because nobody's going to give me a job when I leave 6 months out of the year where I'm like, hey, I got to go later, dude.
Did you ever have a job?
I don't think I've ever had like a real job where somebody told me.
You never had to report to anybody?
Other than baseball. Like I had to report for my games and stuff. But I would say that's the only real job I had.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as I was playing baseball, I said, okay, what am I going to do to make money in the off season? So I became a realtor. I was 21 years old. I just fell into that because my mom had been a realtor for 30 years. And I looked at her life and I said, okay, she doesn't have a boss. She does what she wants. Like, this will work for me. Quickly learned I hated that. Did it for a couple of years. And
what did you hate about it?
I hated working with clients. I hated that, you know, you work so hard to make so little money back then. 2010, you know, prices were stupid cheap.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. So I was working so hard. Nobody could qualify for loans. Everybody had just went bankrupt or did a short sale.
Or foreclosure.
It's just, the whole thing was just rough.
Well, just want to take a step back here because you're talking about, you know, growing up, you didn't say, Mom, I want to be a YouTuber. Like you can't even, not until like 4 years ago do you even say like, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up. And so you were talking about these kids today that are saying, I want to be an influencer or whatever. The one great thing about social media today is that we've opened the eyes to a generation that you can actually be your own boss. It's a little different the way you be your own boss.
Yeah.
You know, when I was coming up in engineering, I was like, I'm going to be a poker player. That's going to be my self-employment thing.
Yeah.
And then Vegas robbed me of those dreams because they were brutal over there.
Yeah, I forgot. I didn't mention that part. I also was a gambler. You know, definitely not a professional, but I did win a poker tournament in Vegas when I was 18. Don't ask me how I got in or what happened, but that did happen. And I also played on Full Tilt and online poker and stuff.
You did? Were you any good at that?
I was pretty good. I played heads up, and I was good at heads up. I didn't have the patience for a normal game.
Well, speaking of that patience, because you're a driver naturally.
Yeah.
On a PI, what are you in the PI?
Maverick.
Okay, so you're a driver naturally, and I think you didn't know about entrepreneurship necessarily, but let's face it, you're not employable.
No, I'm not, for sure. I couldn't. And look, I didn't know that. I just was like, man, I'm not going to work for somebody.
Right.
So, you know, I'm in baseball, and being a realtor sucks. So I'm like, what am I going to do to make money? Because I don't know when my next house sale will be. You know, everybody in real estate can relate to that. So one of my friends tells me about substitute teaching. He's like, dude, you can make $100 a day just being a sub. You can pick what days you want to work. Super easy. Just show up and take roll and that's it. I'm like, all right, being a sub actually sounds pretty good. I could make $2,000 a month and work my own hours, pick what days I want to go. So I remember I got approved, and I ended up.
Was that hard?
It was kind of hard. It probably took a few months because you got to get fingerprints and all this stuff. So end up getting approved, and the way that you pick a sub job is pretty interesting. Like every day I would wake up and see the list of schools. I'd be like, all right, is there one near me? Preferably starting later, like I don't want to go to high school at 7 a.m. Like, is there any at 8 or 9? And so I ended up picking like every day. It would be I didn't know where I was going to go work.
Huh.
And so I'd be like, all right, that looks cool. I'll go work at that one. And then if there was none that I really liked, I'm like, I'm just not working today.
Interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. So that's how I did it. And man, I've worked the high schools, the elementary schools, the middle schools. I quickly learned which ones I liked and didn't like. Elementary school, no way.
No?
Because that ain't take and roll. Like, you're teaching in elementary because it's the same class.
Mm-hmm.
High school and middle school is the same. Like, you just take roll, whatever. Then I quickly...
Take roll, you're just doing attendance and that's it?
That's it.
You're not even teaching anything?
No. You just... You take attendance and then it's like study hall or watch a video or something. Yeah. So it was super easy. But through that, I posted something on Instagram the other day. Some girl tagged me from like 8 years ago of a picture of me substitute teaching. And she was like, oh my gosh, you'll never believe this, but hot substitute teacher is now a millionaire. And I was like, what is going on here? Someone sent it to me. I was like, I need to get a Twitter. I didn't even have a Twitter yet. And it was random. She had this picture of me from back in the day. Like, I didn't have one. So
yeah, she was low-key stalking you.
She was low-key stalking me. And, like, I'm like, how do you have a picture from 8 years ago of this? This is crazy. So
she was dreaming about you.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, every day I'd go to middle school or high school. Man, the girls, oh, my gosh. It was, like, so annoying because they'd just be like giggling. Like they don't hide their emotions or anything. They're like not discreet about anything.
No filter.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like every class. It's just a repeat all over again. Because I'm not the sub that they're expecting. They're expecting some like old guy and whatever.
Well, yeah, remember those guys. Those are the guys that would get upset at us and scream at us.
Yeah.
Were you a screamer as a sub?
No, I was like, do your work. Like, who's here? But so we, and also too, back then I was like 22, 23 years old. So I was pretty close in age to like high school and stuff. So they thought, a lot of times people thought I went to the high school. I'm like, no, I'm the sub. So yeah. Anyways, quickly learned subbing was annoying also. So I start thinking about other ways to make money. And during subbing was actually beneficial because I started reading books. While the kids were watching videos, I started reading books. First time I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, some of the classics. I'm like, okay, this is the way you make money. I end up moving in, or my wife and I get married. I'm 24 at the time. She just turned 21. And we furnished our place. And, I furnished it for like $1,000. And I'm like, man, I bet you I could sell this furniture for a lot more. Now, granted, I wasn't going to sell the furniture that we just bought, but I go, let me just test this theory out. So I buy a couch.
You just have this random thought.
While I was subbing. I had
I'm going to start flipping couch.
Yeah.
You didn't see it anywhere else. You didn't see it on Craigslist. You just...
No, it was not a thing. It wasn't a thing even until I made it a thing like last year. So I ended up, I'm sitting there while I'm subbing. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I got such a good deal on that stuff. Oh, and also, too, I think I was looking for more stuff while I was subbing. I'm like, all right, we need a patio table. Like, I don't know. And I was sitting there thinking, like, man, I bet you I could probably flip a couch a day for, like, $200 profit. And then I'm like, I'm sitting here for $100. This is interesting. So I test my theory out. I tell the guy while I'm subbing, like, I find a deal. I go, hey, I'll pick up this couch, today after I get off work. And, I get off work, go pick it up, like a few days later, sell it for $200. And I go, dude, I just made more. That took me an hour to go do that and versus 6 hours here. And then I was thinking about, I'm like, opportunity cost. I didn't even know what it was, but I'm thinking about, well, actually I did. I went to college. I knew it at that point. But I'm thinking about it. I'm like, if I miss out on a couch because I'm subbing here, that's bad.
Yeah.
So I immediately stopped subbing.
So just cold turkey.
Yeah, I'm like, this is dumb. I'm flipping just random stuff. So yeah, that was the start of my first real business of my own. And I remember I made probably like $2,000 the first month, and I worked like not at all. I was like, dude, this was crazy.
So just walk me through this. And you know, this, we hear these questions like, why would anyone sell real estate at such a discounted price? How can you make money do it? How's that possible? But I really have this question about couches. How are you finding discounted prices on couches? And who are you finding to pay more if it was available in the same spot?
Yeah, so people ask me that all the time. They're like, so you bought them on Craigslist. Where'd you sell them? Craigslist? I'm like, yeah. They're like, I don't get it. So, yeah, I mean, I would just look just like on the MLS.
So you're just finding motivated sellers.
Well, it was a speed game. You know, if somebody listed within, you know, I was checking my phone every 30 minutes for new listings. So I look at it, I see a new listing. I'm like, great, let me hit that guy up, make an offer. He says yes. I say, I'll pick it up right this minute, because you have to be fast. So, you know, I pick it up right that minute. They're super stoked because they just listed it and now they're getting rid of it. They're happy. You know, I go pick it up, and then all I did was clean it up just by taking off the covers and washing them and throwing them back on. It's not like I was shampooing them and all this stuff.
Right.
And the big key was just offering free delivery. So end up offering free delivery. You know, buy it for $100, sell it for $3, offer free delivery. People are stoked. And
do you have a warehouse for all this?
Yeah, well, so when I first started, I was in my apartment, and I was just the apartment, right? And once it became a business, I go, all right, I need a storage unit. So I get a storage unit that's right next door to our apartment. You know, I fill it up within, you know, a couple of weeks. I'm like, I need another unit. So I get another unit, then another unit. And these are 10 by 30s. These are big units. At one point, I had 5 units of... and so it's funny, like, people would come for one couch, and I'm like, come see my gallery of, you know, let me show you what else we have. And then so they picked, like, it was like they're going to RC Willie or something. So it became a business that I just learned over time how to do things that have for sure helped me in my career. You know, I realized, okay, I need a truck. I need a better truck if I'm going to do this. So, you know, I buy equipment. Then I realized, all right, I need some cleaners at the site. I need, you know, some lint rollers and these things just to make things presentable. I need air fresheners so they don't stink. And so you learn these things, and then I learned what descriptions work, right? SEO.
Yeah.
I learned SEO on Craigslist because I started using keywords in all my titles and all my descriptions. I didn't know what I was doing.
Marketing.
I was just learning it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the free delivery. I'm like, people pay for convenience. They don't even negotiate. That's what I realized. Most people don't
Was it free
negotiate.
delivery? It was in the title.
Yep, it was in the title. And they're like, oh, free delivery? $300? Like, dude, let's do it.
Yeah.
I also learned about transparency because, you know, if I had a couch that had a hole or a tear or something, right? I remember my first time I delivered one, they had not seen it, and it had a hole. And they're like, well, this wasn't in the pictures. And I'm like, you're right. Like, you know, so I don't even remember what happened. I gave them a discount or something there. I said never again. So I started disclosing everything about the couch in the I go, hey, tear here, tear here, tear here. If you still want it, I'll deliver it. And then if they say, like, ideally, I'd try to get them to go see it first. I'm like, hey, come see it. Make sure you want it. So for the people that would say, no, I'm not going to see it, like, just deliver it, I'd be like, all right, acknowledge these. So I was learning these real estate things I do now.
Yeah.
And just the couch flipping taught me so much with that, and then with negotiating. Because I was making literally, you know, tens of offers every day. I was negotiating the sales. I mean, I sold...
So you had a lot of reps.
Yeah, I got so many negotiation reps. I mean, I sold over 1,000 couches. So that's 1,000 negotiations that made me who I am.
That's incredible. So how long did you do couch flipping?
It was like 2 to 3 years. You know, I started off, I was making like $2,000 a month, then 3, then 4. Then I scaled it up to $8,000. And we're talking net, you know. Yeah. And I remember I had a month where I made $12,000 during Christmas because Black Friday is the biggest time people get rid of couches. You know, so on Black Friday, I remember, like,
why is that?
Because they all bought a new couch on Black Friday.
Okay.
So they all are just giving them away. So I remember in November, I bought like I was buying like 4 couches a day after Black Friday.
Yeah.
And I had all this inventory, and I sold it off in December.
So you were doing this all by yourself?
Yeah.
One-man crew.
Starting out, So when I was telling you about November, it was just me by myself. And then once I started getting into house flipping, that was when I started to delegate.
Got it.
So,
And now you've created this like couch flipping army.
well, it was just one other guy.
No, I'm talking about like today.
Oh, today, yeah. So, I've got a YouTube series called Flip Nation, and man, it was crazy. And we'll talk about the YouTube stuff later, but I ended up just making a video about couch flipping because it was just something I did. I'm like, this is just something I did. Maybe it's valuable to, you guys who are trying to hustle and make some money.
Mm-hmm.
And it went freaking viral. I was like, what the heck is going on
Yeah.
here? And so people walk up to me all the time and they're like, dude, I've been flipping couches. I'm making $5,000 a month. It changed my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude, super crazy. And I tell people that all the time. They're like, I don't have a job. I'm like, why don't you just flip couches? Like, it's so easy.
It's incredible what you've done with that. Okay, so a few years, and then you get into house flipping. When did you start flipping houses?
So I got the bug at the end of 2014, bought the first one beginning of 2015.
Got it. And there's a delta there, 2014 and 2015.
Yeah.
Massive research. What is it?
So I've told this story many times. We were on our 1 year anniversary. Our anniversary is late October. And I got the calling from God, I felt like, to go do this and look into it and research and do the stuff. So ended up doing that. And so I go into November. I'm like, I'm flipping a house, dude, no matter what. And at the time, I'm still flipping couches. That's how we're making a living. So for November to December, I'm literally just consuming podcasts this whole time, just trying to learn and research everything I can about flipping houses. And then going into January, I ended up feeling really confident and good. Mm-hmm. I had hard money lenders lined up. I had my credit lined up. Like, I knew exactly what I needed. And then I think I found the first deal in like January-ish. And then I closed in like February. And, the rest is history, man.
Have you taken the Colby test?
No.
Okay, I'd be interested to see you taking it. Because there's 4 things in there. There's action taking, fact finding. I can't remember the third one. That's terrible. And the fourth one is how much you enjoy working with your hands. Bringing your vision to life. You bringing your vision to life. And it's clear to me that you love going really deep. Like when you research, it's not cursory. It's not. That seems like a good idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, I can kind of imagine you just kind of be like buried, not under a room full of books because that doesn't happen anymore.
Right. But
just deep research.
My research these days involves me just talking to people in that industry.
Today. But before?
Before it was podcast, it was books.
Yeah. But then when you take action, it's not like a little bit of action.
No, I'm all in at that point. So like for me, I always, if I'm going to get into a business, and we'll talk about the new businesses I'm getting in, I am going to do everything possible so that when I launch it and I announce it, it's already going out with a bang. Yeah. Because I've already done all the prep that no one has seen. Mm-hmm. You only have one chance at a first impression. You only have one chance at a launch. And so just everything I do now is just anytime I launch something, people are like, holy crap, like, how is it? How did it do? Well, you didn't see the last 2 months of me leading up to it.
Yeah. All right. So 2015, you said?
Yeah.
So you're flipping houses. That's going really good, going really well. And then in the last couple of years, you kind of like was looking at some other things, right? So let's talk about, just for those that don't know you, right? Talk about your flipping, house flipping business.
Yeah. So 2015, I started doing it. Flipped 5 that first year. And mainly in Vegas. We're not all in Vegas for that. And then I go to doing 20 the next year, all by myself. And then 2017, I really start to scale. We did over 50. Hired my first guy at 50. And then 2018 was my first year out of baseball. So I finally retired.
Wait, so you did 50 transactions while you were still playing baseball?
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Well, and baseball taught me a lot too. I talk about couch flipping teaching me a lot. Baseball taught me a ton because to do those, first 80 deals while playing baseball, I had to delegate, obviously.
All right.
So when I was gone playing, I had hired project manager, hired a guy to go look at deals for me, and I had to get comfortable buying deals without me personally going to see them. Most people starting out would never do that, right?
No, they wouldn't trust them.
No, but I had to learn trust.
Yeah.
And so now I have like extreme trust in everyone that I hire. And yeah, so that helped a lot. But anyways, so I retired from baseball in like August or something, I think. And, you know, I go into the end of August or September, you know, I'm just like thinking about my life. I'm like, man, you know, I had a good baseball career. You know, house flipping is going really well. Obviously, this is going to be my path going forward. What can I do to amplify this? And so the guy who was my project manager, his name's Nick. I'm like, let's start a brokerage. You'll be the broker. You know, we'll have these house flips. It'll pay for itself and whatever. So we started this brokerage, just me and him, no agents. And we ended up, now we have over 100. But then, you know, we got the office space. We're going legit. And then I started to really think about branding because house flipping before that, it was just me, right?
Right.
So I create my company, Home Run Offer, you know, SEO based, right? Home offer. But then Home Run, you know, meshes with me.
I didn't even think about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The SEO component.
Yeah. So that was the SEO component, which when I thought about it, I'm like, this is as good as it's going to get. And so that was my first like real shot at branding with the brokerage, Forever Home Realty. And 2018, we go into it as like my first year. Like I feel like I was unleashed as an entrepreneur. By this point, I know I'm an entrepreneur. And, you know, we did over 140 flips. The brokerage grew. We outgrew the space that we rented just a few months later, and I had to get another space. And it was my first time really hiring people at scale, you know, hiring acquisitions people, cold callers, and, you know, it was cool.
So one thing that you did, I know we talked about it before, was you got a lot of flips through social media.
Yeah.
So you're talking about branding. Can you elaborate on the branding component?
Yeah, so branding has been something that I started taking more serious in like 2016, 2017. And it wasn't like I was this big influencer guy. It was just me going to my flips and going on Facebook Live and, you know, showcasing it. I didn't even have an Instagram, man. So it was just me showcasing on Facebook Live. It would be me just doing a simple how-to. I'm like, hey, you know, here's how I got 2 deals yesterday. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody was doing it. And I just thought it was cool, and people were getting a lot of value out of it. I wasn't on YouTube. I wasn't on Instagram or none of these things. I just was doing it on Facebook, and people would be like, man, you know, I want to work with you. Like, I've got deals. I've got money. I've got whatever. So I got private lenders. I got deals. I was like, there's something to these videos. And mind you, they weren't edited. There was no mics, nothing. It was literally just me and the phone.
Yeah.
And whatever mess ups I had, that was it.
Right.
One take.
So you were very comfortable doing one take back then.
Yeah.
You're a lot more polished today.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that evolution a little bit? I know we're going to talk about a little bit more, but can you talk about the evolution? Because there's a lot of people that are very uncomfortable with the one take, and they're like, everything's got to be polished. Everything's got to be perfect the first time. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So when I first started, it's funny because all of my circumstances have led to me becoming who I became, or I guess who I'm still evolving into. So with the whole one take thing, I literally didn't even think about, man, how could I possibly edit this? It was just like, yeah, I have to nail this. And so the one takes weren't truly one takes. It was multiple takes of the same video. I remember I'd be like 2 minutes into it and I'd mess up or I'd lose my train of thought. And I'm like, dang, I got to start over. And so I'd start over again.
Okay.
And then again and again.
Got it.
And so eventually I could make a 4 or 5 minute video without looking at a note, whatever. And so all of that time I was developing my speaking skills, my improv skills, my off the cuff skills. And the videos were good. People got a lot of value out of them. Terrible quality, terrible like flow of, you know, there was no structure to the story, or it was just like off the cuff.
Yeah.
All over the place. And then when I got into YouTube later, I understood, hey, I need to script, I need to sequence, because in order to keep a viewer engaged for 10 minutes, you have to walk them through the video in the proper way. You have to hook them. You got to keep them hooked. And so I've learned a ton about structure.
Yeah. All right. So you got the brokerage, and then you got this accounting company.
Yeah. So, we were crushing it with the flips. I wrote a book. We were having a lot of success. In 2019, I had my first negative experience. I lost money on flips and all this stuff. And the reason was my accounting wasn't good. I just was winging it. In 2018, I did over 140 flips with no bookkeeping, no Well, I had a P&L. I should take that back. But no bookkeeping, nothing.
Wow.
I was just winging it.
Yeah.
And we made a lot of money. But then in 2019, I'm like, where's the money? And I realized that, I just wasn't properly accounting for my cash flow that was going in and out. I didn't know what money I had that was designated for rehabs. And I was using my rehab money to buy deals. I just didn't know it.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I from failing, I was like, man, okay, we got to take accounting seriously. And so I ended up hiring my soon-to-be partner, Matt, and he gets our books straight. He's great as an accountant. 2018, I made a lot of money, and I did not pay a lot of tax. And I was like, I like this guy. So
great quality.
Yeah, great qualities. So then, he's working for me for all of 2019. I'm pretty much his only client. And then we end up talking about it just at one of our Q3 parties. He's like, I think, we should start a company. Mm-hmm. And me being as an entrepreneur, I'm thinking about it. And I was like, what'd you just say? He's like, man, when we going to start a company? Because he was working for a big firm. Mm-hmm. And I thought about it. I was like, that's a good idea because everybody's always asking me for referrals. So we talked it through for a couple of months, and then we launched True Books at the very beginning of 2020.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's great that you survived, because what buries a lot of flippers isn't even losing money on the flips. It's the having all that money outlaid, having that cash crunch because of poor accounting. Right? Or I could be wrong. I don't flip as many houses, but I think that's where a lot of flippers kind of get into trouble, is to run out of money.
Yeah, a lot of flippers don't realize their burn rate,
yeah.
And what they're spending on marketing and salaries, and let alone the
hard money,
and then the distribution of hey, these funds are designated for one purpose, and that's rehabs. You can't use them. Even if you get a good deal, you can't use them. Mm-hmm. So having the CPA company, when I first started it, was strictly just for me to, for my own thing. I'm like, hey, if the CPA company can pay for all my accounting needs, great. Mm-hmm. But now, we service hundreds of people across the country.
Really?
So, yeah, we're in the process of really scaling. We just hired 4 full-time people, and, 2 of them are 6-figure salaries. 2 of them are, so it's
Dang.
now we're really pushing it forward.
It's a real business.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then at some point you evolved into adding education. So right now we got flipping houses, wholesaling, brokerage, accounting. Let's add something else.
Yeah. So, in 2018, when I was having the success, so many people were telling me man, how are you doing? How are you doing? I kept answering the same questions over and over again.
Which was read my book.
Well, before the book, yeah, I was answering them. I'm like, man, this is annoying. I'm saying the same things over and over. So it finally forced me to write a book. So I wrote a book after I'd flipped 100 houses. I said, here's how I flipped 100 houses. Here's the guide. And people loved it. And I'll probably never do it the way I did that one again. I actually wrote that one myself. No ghostwriter, no idea how to be an author. Just winged it. Granted, I did do research on how to write a book. Okay,
yeah.
Just like we're talking about. But it ended up being really good. Made a course with it. And, that was my first taste of education. But it wasn't man, I'm going into education to light the world on fire. Mm-hmm. It's more of hey, if you need it, here it is. Cool. I didn't want to be a salesy guy.
Right.
So 2019, same type of deal. It's just I'm talking about it every so often. Hey, if you want it, you want it. Cool. If not. At the end of 2019, after I had learned so much from the failures early on in the year and, getting to where I was at that point where, I had flipped hundreds of homes, eventually I was like, all right, you know what? I think I'm ready to finally coach. Mm-hmm. I've been through ups. I've been through downs. I've built teams. I've, done a lot of things. So I start my coaching program in December of 2019. And, you know, to this point, it's cool, but it's not even close to like my income, like a percentage of it. And I do the coaching program for all of 2020. And with that, it just starts taking off because of also social media, which we'll touch on later.
Right.
But yeah, you know, I really started taking education serious at the beginning of 2020 when I had the coaching program.
Yeah. And there's something that, you know, we talk about. Well, I guess there's a couple different things. First, we talk about when you're doing your research before you're flipping houses, you maxed out your credit card when you first started flipping houses.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation, like, isn't it wrong, right, to allow someone to max out their credit card to invest in a course, investment program, whether it's one of the major ones or some of the other ones that our friends run? Does it make sense to allow someone to do that? And it was kind of a crisis of, I don't know if ethics is the right word, but crisis of conscience. And then I'm talking to you, it's like, well, Ryan maxed out his credit card. On his first house?
Yeah.
On his first house, he maxed out his credit card. And me in my journey, right? Like, I maxed out my credit card at $39,000, right? Chasing my dreams.
Yep.
So then the question is, like, should we be kicking people away because we'd be kicking people like us away? Like, who are we to say no to their dreams?
Yeah, and that was something I thought about as well, because you go with like the world's stigma and you're like, oh yeah, no, don't do that. Yet the world says go to college and go get $200,000 in student loan debt. You know, that's cool.
Which is useless.
Yeah, which is way more useless. And so I'm like, after I thought about it for a long time, like I looked at my situation. I look at big entrepreneurs. Look at Elon Musk. I mean, that guy, he sold PayPal, made a few $100 million, risked it all on Tesla and SpaceX, and on the verge of bankruptcy with those companies. And, you know, they are what they are today. So my point is, I always talk about risk now. And I'm like, look, if you ain't willing to take a risk, don't even talk to me. Yeah. Because playing it safe ain't going to vibe with me. And what I tell you to do ain't going to work. Because there's no way to play it safe and win big.
Yeah.
You could play it safe, and over time, you know, you'll grow and have a safe life. And that's cool if that's what you want. Yeah. That ain't what I want.
Yeah, if it lines up with your life's goals, great.
Right.
But then I'm not the coach for you.
I'm not the coach for you, because I'm going to be like, dude, let's go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, I think when it comes to education, it's something that's been an evolution for me as far as what I'm willing to tolerate and accept. And, you know, I'm much more lenient now. I'm like, hey, look, everyone's a big boy or a big girl. Make your own decisions.
Yeah.
If you want to max out your credit cards, it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you to do it. Make your choice.
Yeah. And then there's also a stigma in the education world, which I think kind of cleaning up a little bit. I think it's getting a little bit better. I don't know. But, you know, is that something that you think about? Like, how do I make sure I'm not one of these gurus that's, you know, getting torn apart?
Yeah. So that was a big thing as I was growing my social media last year. You know, I'm like, man, okay, education's like going to be making more than my house flipping soon. And which is great for me.
Right.
But also, too, we look at our students and we have so many that are crushing it and doing great things. Like, we've changed their life. And so that's reinforced it to me that, man, if I did not really push hard on education and promoting it and trying to get people in it, these people's lives wouldn't be changed, right? It's not just about my company making more money. And that gave me the conscience to be like, all right, I'm going to promote more and push harder, because before I was always like, I don't want to be that guy who's always pushing and selling and, you know, all this stuff. But when you don't tell people what you have to offer, you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
Because you never know how you could have, you know, changed their life with something that you could do unless they know about it.
You know, so I had this experience, and I should remember it more often. But I actually had someone come up to me when we were in Houston for wholesaling, right? So end of 2019. And he pulled me aside, and he said to me, like, I wish I knew you had an education program. You know, I wish I knew about it, because instead of going with you, I went with this other guy, and it was a complete bust.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so I wish I went with you. You could have changed my life. I was like, ugh.
Yep.
That's tough to hear.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, I truly believe we have the best education there is. So why am I not
second best?
Second best to Steve. So I truly believe we have the second best education in the world. So it's like, why?
Well, you are Forbes certified.
That is true too.
Yeah.
So, at that point, if I'm not telling people about it, who is? Right? I mean, my students do. We get a ton of referrals from students, but somebody else is going to shout their name from the rooftop, and then maybe they're good, maybe they're not, but the person who's the best marketer is typically going to win.
Right, and that's the whole beta versus VHS.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of touched on this throughout, but would you consider yourself an influencer, YouTuber, TikToker? Like, what do we call what you do now?
Yeah, so, I'm thinking about it. It's funny, whenever I do, like, my bio for something or the tagline for, like, RyanPineda.com, right? You got to write a tagline. And so we're looking at it, like, we're like, do we write entrepreneur? Do we write real estate investor? Do we write influencer? Do we write YouTuber? Like, right? There's so many things. I don't know what it's called, man. I don't really care. So for me,
so what it is you do? If I walk up to you on the street, it's like, hi Ryan, I'm Steve. I run a podcast. What do you like? What do you do? What do you say?
Dude, you know what's funny is I asked my wife this. I go, when people ask you what I do, what do you tell them? She's like, I hate that question so much because I don't even know what to tell them. I'm like, what do you tell him? She's like, it used to be he was a baseball player. Then, it used to be he's a real estate investor. But now at this point, whatever you want to call it, like he's an entrepreneur, he's an influencer, he's a YouTuber, he's a investor, the crypto guy now somehow. So I don't know, man. I enjoy so many things, and I think that helps and it also hurts because if you are known for one thing, you're the guy in that one thing. And I felt like I was that way with house flipping for a while. But now that I've branched into all these other things, now it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that guy flips houses too. So
you think you might not be on as many first call?
Yeah, it's just like kind of whatever's hot at the moment, I think, for a lot of people. So for instance, right now I'm here to speak at Carlos' event for Freedom. And I think I'm probably, I don't know, at least one of the top 3 house flippers there, out of 1,000 people. But I'm not going there to talk about flipping houses. I'm going there to talk about social media, and I don't think anybody's going to even ask me about flipping houses, to be honest.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the audience there, or the speaker panel.
Yeah.
So, all right.
But anyways, I guess, the shift that I made was in 2020, we're sitting there during the pandemic, and I remember I came on your show.
Yeah.
Like, probably right around now.
I think it was March. I think it was it right before? No, you had to get permission to come here from, your wife had to be comfortable with it.
Yeah. So I'm pretty certain it was right around May, June.
Okay.
Because I started my YouTube channel May 1st.
Okay.
And I remember coming on the show. I think I had about 2,000 or 3,000 subs at the time. But I was talking about it in the way that, like, I had all these subs, which I didn't. But I was so certain that it was going to work out. And I just remember telling everyone on the audience, like, hey, here's why I think YouTube is great. Here's why I think Instagram sucks. Here's why I like TikTok. I probably had like 100,000 TikTok at the time. And I was like, this is all I'm doing for the next year.
You had 100,000 at that time?
Yeah. I'm like, so this is all I'm going to do for the next year. I'm going to devote all my time and energy to this. And, a year later, filming this right now, it's like, okay, we've got over 100,000 YouTube subs, over 100,000 Instagram, over 600,000 TikTok. It
was July of last year.
July, yeah. So I had 3,000, and I launched the podcast, and now it's a top new business show, and it's all happened within 1 year. And it was just because, like you said, I did that deep research into it. I felt like I had a good blueprint from what I learned, and I had conviction that this was the best path going forward. Because I just looked at the world, I looked at my businesses, I looked at everything, and I said, what is the best use of my time right now? We all have 24 hours. What can be the best use? In my mind, I think, the best use is going on seller appointments and being the CEO and managing people and whatever, right? Working on my business. And then I was like, I don't even think that's the best use of my time. I think the best use of my time is being the promoter of my businesses.
Which is a huge paradigm shift, because we know a lot of people that are ultra successful and what they focus on is working on their business. And I think it takes a lot of, I don't know what it is exactly, but it takes a lot to move you from a paradigm, right? And there's a reason why we call it a paradigm. This is the way it is. This is the way it's always been done. This is the way we're always going to do it. Sometimes it's like, who are you to say that there's a different way for it to be done?
Yeah.
And so I applaud you for having that foresight, the vision.
Conviction, foresight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody was doing it. Nobody was thinking about this back then. I mean, everybody, obviously, COVID hit. Everybody's trying to light fire, put out fires across their businesses and figure out what's going on. And I just tried to take a step back from everything and remove myself and say, what is if I had no other obligations, what would be the best path going forward? And I just felt like social media was it.
Yeah.
And, fast forward a year later, obviously it was a good decision. But now you're seeing other people follow suit.
Right. Not enough people follow suit.
Not enough. I still think more need to do it. But I think you will see even more follow suit here in the coming years.
Yeah. But you called your shot. You're
At
on the
3,000
show.
subs.
But you called your shot and you said, this is what I'm going to do. And because I do this, I'm going to get these results. And you did it. And you put your time into it. So when did you stop going on seller appointments?
At that point, I was already done.
So by that point, you're already done.
July, yeah.
Got it. Okay. And how much time do you work 40 hours a week? How many hours do you even work in a week?
Mentally, 24 hours a day. Physically, at the office, 35 hours a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So within the 35 hours a week, how much time is set aside for creating or procuring content?
Literally, almost all my time.
All of your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really tough to compete against.
Yeah, I mean, because when I look at the 35 hours, right, I would guess on the actual businesses, man, maybe I spend 2 or 3 hours as far as giving them feedback or advising them or whatever. So I do that. I also have my coaching call once a week, so that's an hour. So maybe 5 hours is actually me as a business, working on the business. The other 30 hours for sure is just filming, scripting, revising, driving to, locations.
Does your team still need you? Do they still have hey, Ryan, we're dealing with this problem?
Yeah, they could. I'm still a consultant.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of where you're at this point. You're a consultant for your company.
I'm a consultant for my company. What Sean Bob, he's here. He'll be like, we got this deal. What would you do?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, here's what we need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of for me, when they have to bring me in is because it's this really bad situation that.
Yeah. I mean, we did. Sean Bob was telling you, because we use your coaching, which, by the way, is amazing. I'd highly recommend everyone use it. Affiliate code down below for me. So we got 25 deals last month. And that was our biggest month ever.
Impressive.
Yeah. And those 25 deals, I think, are going to do over $700,000. But once again, nobody probably cares about that. They want to know about social media at this point.
Right.
But yeah, I just think with those deals, I probably was in the loop on one of them that they had an issue on.
Well, we were kind of joking here. Sion here is also recording. You and I are doing 2 deals in Albuquerque.
Yeah, we are.
And you found out from Sean Bob.
Yeah.
And I found out from Max.
Exactly.
Right? We're doing deals together.
We are.
We didn't even know we were doing deals together.
I know. It's super random. It's a beautiful thing.
It's phenomenal. I could not ask for anything more.
Yeah.
So you said, I'm going to do this influence thing, and it's going to open up these other opportunities. So before we jump into your other opportunities, have you found, because one of the things that I've noticed, or a blessing in having a podcast, is there's almost nobody I can't get a hold of now, right? If I say I need to get a hold of somebody, I might not know that person, but I'm probably 1 or 2 phone calls away from being able to get a hold of that person. Mm-hmm. Have you found that to be the case for you as well?
Yeah, I can pretty much get a hold of anyone. I mean, like you said, you're literally one person away. Mm-hmm. And when you have influence, you probably know the one person.
Right.
I was trying to talk to Meet Kevin the other day, and I know a bunch of people that know him. To this point, I haven't really had a need to talk to him, but I had a need because I wanted to provide. I had this opportunity. I won't talk about it, but so I hit up my friend Chandler, Chandler Smith. He's a YouTuber, multifam guy. I'm like, link me up with Kevin, and then within a minute, we were on a group text and we were chatting about things.
Right.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And I remember you came out here a couple of months ago. We did our event. It was me, you, Kong, and Sam out there. And someone asked me, like, why do you do this? Why do you keep doing the podcast thing? And I said to him, like, look, I do it to help a lot of people, but let's not hide the fact that this benefits me.
Yeah.
Right? And they say, like, why be an influencer? And influencer today, we just kind of look at it in the social media context. But historically, if you have influence, you have power, right? You can sway things. I mean, right now you just pay influencers to post your thing on your product on their website, and then you pay that influencer for that. But influence traditionally means, like, you can get things done because you have that influence. Okay, so you leveraged influencing to what?
Man, so the moment I started taking it seriously and it started to grow, all of my existing businesses just went bonkers. I mean, people buying courses, coaching, people wanting tax services, people sending us more deals, more money, agents joining our brokerage like crazy. I'm like, yeah, this is a pretty good thing. And
well, your accounting firm, you said you had to hire 4 more people.
Yeah, we did.
Because
I need more
influence.
bookkeepers. We have too many clients.
Yeah.
So it's good problems. And we ended up, I just looked at it. I'm like, holy crap. Like with influence too, if you have existing businesses, they do really good. Yeah. But you could start new businesses almost from the jump and be extremely profitable if you do it right. And so, as an entrepreneur for the last year, I was strictly focused on building my influence. My existing businesses, they were what they were. The traffic will go to those and it'll be fine. But now I'm going to start 2 businesses that just make sense with what I'm doing and, can be potentially huge.
Yeah.
So the first one was Pineda Capital. And by the time this airs, I mean, we should be finally up and running, but it's been a process for the last 3-4 months. Essentially, I started a fund for real estate where we're going to go buy multifamily, commercial, do some land development, everything. And it's something that I've wanted to do, but the timing wasn't right. But now with influence, it makes it very easy because I have the business skills to set up the operations and all that. I know how to start a brand and marketing. But the biggest thing that influence provides is people who want to invest. The moment I open the fund, I already know we're going to fill it in a week. Yeah. The second thing is access to deals. So many people that know I have a fund are now going to be like, Ryan, invest in our deals. Now I don't have to do anything. Yeah. I can just, as long as I can underwrite it and make sure that we're getting into good deals and manage those operators, we're going to be ultra successful. And so the fund is really going to be cool because not only are we going to get into some really good deals, but all the people who've wanted to get into real estate investing, but who don't want to be flippers or wholesalers or even, buy and hold single family. They just don't want to do the work. They can now just join and just, partner up with us.
Just kind of a crowdfunding kind of thing.
Yeah, and they don't have to do anything. Now, granted, we are only taking accredited investors, but still, it's such an easy way to get into it and get all the benefits of real estate with depreciation, with appreciation, all these things. And that's part of the reason, too, I'm starting the fund is, with the success of the other companies, I'm going to have a really large tax bill.
You're going to have to finally pay taxes.
Well, not necessarily. So if my fund buys enough deals, we won't, no. Yeah. Because depreciation will write off everything.
Yeah. And you're talking about influence, we're talking about a fund. I mean, someone's already created a blueprint for this.
Yeah, my boy GC. Yeah. He's not my boy, but yeah.
So Grant's already created a model for this, right? A blueprint.
Well, you look at Grant's business, right? Look, with every influencer, there are always pros and cons, right? You're not going to vibe 100% with somebody, right? There's people who like me that, may not like an aspect about me, like my hair or something. That's fine. So they, you look at Grant, and he's got some pros and cons.
Yeah.
But I choose to look at the pros. And the pro is that he has other businesses that make him a lot of money, 10X and all these things. And then he's got his fund. And the fund essentially wipes out all of his income here. That's why he doesn't pay taxes. And on top of that, he also acquires billions of dollars in real estate.
Yeah.
And he has shown the blueprint for what can happen if you have influence and you have real estate savvy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could easily do what he's doing.
Oh, well, I have no doubt that you can. And before we go into your next venture, we're talking about the benefits of having influence. So while we were chatting before the show, you noticed something on my whiteboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we're looking at a social media marketing agency, which I might have borrowed from somebody else, that idea.
I think, you've borrowed quite a bit of my ideas, but it's all good.
So we coach each other, accountable to each other. So, but there's these opportunities that come up because of what we do. All right, so last venture for now. What's the last venture for now?
Yeah, like this week's last venture. So, this one was one that I have been thinking about for a while that I was on the fence about. The Amazon automation stuff, e-commerce. I've had my store for 5+ months now, and it's done really good. And I went
Define good.
So let me take a step back then. So back in like September, October, guy reaches out to me on Instagram. His name's Tony. Used to be a wholesaler, now he's an e-com guy. He's like, hey, like I seen your YouTube, all this stuff, and I just want you to know it's changed my life. Like you've done a lot for me. You don't even know. I was like, dude, I love that. That's awesome. He's like, I'm in e-com. I want to make you a store for free. And, obviously most people charge $30,000, $40,000 for these stores. And I'm like, okay, like I'll just do it for fun, like for the content, really.
Really, exactly.
I wasn't even in it for, man, I'm going to get rich. Like I was skeptical. So we get the store, it takes like a month to get it going. And, December we start selling stuff. And, I make $1,000 net. I'm like, whatever, dude. This is it's cool, but whatever. Okay. So then January pops up. We make like 3,000. I'm like, still whatever. This is not anything. So then February pops up and it does 5,500. I'm like, this is getting interesting. Where's this going? And this is not insignificant anymore. Plus, I'm getting all these credit card points. So March rolls around and we make 8,000. I'm like, okay, like, show me what's going on with this. Because if I'm making this, my first 4 months, what are the guys who've been doing this forever making? So, he shows me the back end of a bunch of their stores. They had a ton of them. So I go, I was like, and show me the good and the bad. I want to see what a bad store looks like. I want to see what a good one looks like, all that. So, I see stores that are just beginning. They're not making any money. That's just part of it. Then I see stores that have, had years of experience and, making 20, 30 grand a month net. I'm like, you're telling me that these guys are really making that much money and they're not doing nothing. Like, yeah, like we manage their stores. I was like, this is freaking crazy. And so I also, during that time, I was getting hit up by all of the Amazon store people that sell them. They want me to be an affiliate.
Right.
And they're all like, man, if you're with your influence, we could sell millions in stores, right? And we'll split the profits and we'll fulfill it. You don't have to do anything. And I just sat there looking at it and I'm like, I definitely could make millions of dollars doing this, but I don't trust you to fulfill it. I mean, it's not that they wouldn't or that they're bad guys or anything. It's just like,
you just don't have the confidence.
Yeah, it's just, look, I own all my own businesses. I'm very rarely an affiliate for anything unless I just know them on a personal level, like your sales training.
Yeah.
I affiliate it to my students. I'm like, hey, use Steve because I know Steve and he's going to perform. So I just didn't feel that way about Amazon just because the nature of the business is so different than anything else. And
It's nothing tangible. Like,
well, you have a store, but the thing is, take for example the education business. In education, if I give you the information, right? Mm-hmm. I gave you the right information, you know, it's great, but you don't perform, it's on you. You know, you just did not apply it. Mm-hmm. You can't blame me. The information was right.
Yeah.
With Amazon, it's all on you as the provider. They gave you the money. They gave you the credit card. It's your duty to perform. And if you don't, it wasn't their fault. It's your fault.
Yeah.
And so when I looked at that from the affiliate perspective,
the accountability.
Yeah, I'm like, guess what? If they don't perform, sure, they're on the hook, but I'm on the hook also.
Well, and you and I have talked about this privately, is that our brand is our most valuable asset.
Yeah.
And if you were to do that and an affiliate that you can't control,
right,
craps the bed,
yeah,
Ryan looks bad.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the whole grand scheme of my life, you know, I'm 32 years old right now, and I'm just getting started. It's like, okay, if I truly see myself as a $1 billion brand in the future, which I do, why am I going to risk it for a couple $1,000,000 now? Mm-hmm. And so I just said, you know what? These guys might or might not fulfill, but if they don't, I don't really have a way to control what happens next. Like, you know, if we want to refund somebody, are they going to do it? If we want to, you know, get them a new store, whatever. So long story short, I ended up going back to my guy who originally did it, who no one knows about, not a guru, nothing, just a cool dude who's managed a bunch of stores. And I said, what would you think about if we partnered instead of me doing an affiliate with these guys? Mm-hmm. He's like, I would love to partner. And so we worked out our partnership, and for like the past 2 months, we've been working in silence to, you know, build out everything. Like I said, when I go deep, I go deep. And so we just been literally building out everything to this point, hiring people with anticipation of launch, which will probably happen here. I don't know when this airs, but middle of May.
Yeah, just give me 48 hours notice.
48 hours notice, yeah.
So I want you know, the first store.
Yeah, but no, it's cool, man. I'm excited for that business because it's different than real estate and all these other things. Like, it truly is. You don't do anything as the buyer. Like, you know, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it, and I'm curious to see where it goes because you're starting to see drop shipping go on every store. You know, Target has it, Home Depot has it, Walmart has it. It used to just be Amazon. Mm-hmm. And so now it's going to be this business that evolves across all different stores. Somebody was telling me the other day, it's actually like what Ty Lopez is doing with all these defunct stores he's buying. So he's buying like Pier 1, he's buying these other stores, and he's going to drop ship on them. So it's definitely, the business is not going anywhere. The only thing I would say for people who are interested in buying stores, know that it's always a moving target. And so like what works today for sure will not work 6 months from now. Like it's going to change, whatever that looks like.
Sounds like the texting game that we play in wholesaling.
Yeah, same deal.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too was when I made the first YouTube video about it, just for content, right? I tell people, I'm like, yeah, so I opened the store, we drop ship from Walmart to Amazon, and you know, yada yada. Everyone's like, that's against terms of service. You're gonna get shut down. Blah blah blah. And I seriously have no idea what they're talking. I'm like, well, I'll look into it. And you know, I look into it, and it is like, yeah, it is against Amazon's terms of service. Yes, many people do get shut down, but then I started to think about it for the perspective of everything else that we do that's potentially against terms of service, right? I'm like, okay, what is a subject to deal? That is against the bank's loans. Just
a little bit.
Yeah.
Just one paragraph that has a bold heading.
Yeah. Okay, subject to is for sure against terms of service, okay? Somebody was telling me on YouTube, whenever I talk about YouTube monetization or how much an affiliate pays or something, it's against terms of service.
Is it?
Yes. You are not allowed to do that.
Interesting.
Yep, but guess what? YouTube makes money when you do it. So
not only do they make money, they make a ton.
Yeah.
Some of the highest performing videos
are talking about what YouTube pays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So YouTube, they shut those videos down.
Yeah.
Same way with Amazon. They're making a ton of money from drop shippers. They're not dumb. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if a store does get shut down, I look at it also. I always relate everything to real estate. It's kind of like if your house gets flagged for permits Your house is shut down. You can't work on it till you get the permits. You do the stuff. You got to deal with the city. They approve everything. Now your house is back up and running. You can sell it. It's the same exact thing.
So let's talk about the last thing that you're an expert on, crypto.
I'm not an expert at this.
Well, you and Corey both right. That's who I look to, right? I have a question about crypto. I'm texting you guys. So you're dabbling in it.
Yeah, you can call it that.
I mean, you obviously learned a lot about it. Right? We're talking about deep research.
Yeah.
So you're proclaiming Bitcoin's hitting 100K.
For sure. I mean, it's not even a question.
So
yeah.
Can you elaborate for those that are still skeptical?
Man, so my crypto journey started at the end of 2017. I bought into that first hype and put 50K in and ended up like dropping down to like 5 or 10 grand. It just, I was like, crypto's so dumb. I didn't know what I was investing in. I was just buying in the hype. And at that point I go, I'm just keeping it. Like, what's the point of selling it? You know, the Ethereum I bought Ethereum at like 800. It tanked to like $100. And I was like, oh man. I bought a bunch of altcoins, just really dumb.
Yeah.
So, you know, fast forward to the beginning of 2021, right? You know, the end of 2020, crypto's starting to make some moves, right? And I'm looking at it again. And at this point, my mindset is way different. Not only have I matured for 3 years, during this time, I started reading a lot of books about how the government really works with printing money, how the Fed works. I also started reading a lot of technology books and talking about how tech is going to be changing the world in so many different ways that, man, you guys, it's crazy what's going to happen. And I guess the one thing I would leave viewers to look into is called Moore's Law. If you just Google Moore's Law, you will understand what I'm talking about with how quick tech moves. Essentially what it says is tech is an exponential thing. So like it takes forever to, you know, get established, but once it does, it explodes.
Right.
And that's where we're at. Everything is exploding as far as the world. The world is going to change like rapidly here soon. And it already is within the last year. So I was reading those books, heavily influenced. I was heavily influenced by seeing how much the government was printing in money.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that was going on. I was like, we're about to have some severe inflation. And Bitcoin and crypto are really like the only way to hedge against it, like on a quick level. So in January, I was like, all right, I'm just going to bet on it. So I put 200 grand into Bitcoin. It was like 30 grand at the time. And then I just kept getting more and more conviction. I was like, all right, I'm buying some Ethereum now. Bought like 100K of Ethereum. And then, you know, closed deals, made more money. I'm like, all right, this cash is trash. Like, I'm starting to see things. And so I keep buying more and more and more. And sure enough, I'm in it for $500,000 in the span of like a month. And end up, you know, today it's, as of right now, it's worth like 1.1. And in that time too, I started flipping some altcoins, which some have done good, some have done bad. But
pump and dump schemes.
Yeah, little pump and dump schemes. So I'm down with that if you are smart about it.
Yeah.
So we, you know, long story short, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are the safest bets. Are they going to get the best ROI? Absolutely not. I mean, there are tons of altcoins that are going to crush them. I just don't know which ones they are. And if
it's
you
like
pick,
the craps table. You just put a little bit on every single one.
Yeah, I don't know which one they are, but, you know, you could pick the right one and 10x. You could pick the wrong one and 0.
Right.
So that's the hard part.
It's fascinating. So I'm counting here double-digit businesses, right? So I'm going to ask you a question that my wife's asked me.
Okay.
When is enough enough?
I think for me, the enough is enough would be when I start feeling stressed about it. You know.
So you don't feel stressed?
No. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy the challenge of creating businesses, of you know, reaching new heights, of trying to become even more efficient with my time and like how much I could achieve in a day, that really like gets me going every morning. Seriously, because I'm like, all right, I got to do X, Y, Z. Okay, a normal person would take a week to do this. How do I do this in 5 hours? This is going to be great. So just knock it out. But, you know, I look at, it was funny because these last 5 months have been a whirlwind to start 2021, or I guess 4 months. Like I was doing this the other day. I was looking back at what I've accomplished in the last 4 months, and it was like kind of mind-boggling. It was like, okay, I launched the podcast. That was really difficult, and you know, it's a top show. It's got 1,400 plus reviews. I am doing a fund that's about to launch. You know, a lot of work. Doing the Lunar Ecom. By the way, I don't know if I said the name. So I launched Lunar, you know, in the middle of this month. I've rebuilt our content team to, you know, do all of this growth. Now it's its own whole organization. We held a workshop, which was a whole new thing. I filmed my rental property course, which we just launched yesterday. You know, that was a whole endeavor. While still putting out like this massive amount of content and, you know, making my existing businesses also even better and tweaking them. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some other stuff, but it's been a lot of work.
Yeah. And you're not stressed at all.
No, I love it.
So
I would be stressed if I had nothing to do. That would stress me out. Seriously. I'd be like twiddling my thumbs. I'm like, what should I be doing now? What's next?
So I had a panic moment about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I was literally like, I was sitting in this classroom over here. And I was like, it's 11 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. And I literally have nothing to do. And I started freaking out.
Yeah.
So we started 3 different ventures.
There you go. See, that's the same thing. I get stressed when I have nothing to do. I'm like, man, there's got to be something to optimize.
Right. And then I want to end with one last thing here. Actually, 2 things. You've been talking about the importance of embracing your religion in your content. And everyone says, don't be controversial, don't do this, don't do that. And you're saying, embrace it.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so anyone who follows me knows I'm Christian, and I share my faith all the time. You know, I'll do stories about when we have our Bible studies. I literally will do a whole podcast about faith and talk about it. So I'm definitely not afraid to share it. I mean, that's number one what God calls me to do. Any Christian, really. If you're being scared about sharing your faith, you need more faith. That's what it comes down to. But 2, it's like, for me, there's 2 things about it. One is that is the big picture of everything I do. Like you said, with influence comes power. And if I can influence people in a way that leads to salvation and eternity, that is far greater than helping them make $200 today flipping a couch or whatever. Like, that is the big picture of it all. In fact, I have visions for what not the back end of my life, but the next stage of my life looks like on the nonprofit side. So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with Christian, like one is for me, Christian entrepreneurs. So I have this vision of starting a thing called CEO, Christian Entrepreneur Organization. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, because I look at the business world, and it's like you said, people do not want to share their faith because they may lose a client, they may lose a relationship, they may lose this or that. I just don't care. Like, that's the reality. And it may be that I don't care because I know I'm supposed to do this, but also because I know I have so many businesses that it just doesn't matter.
Right.
If I alienate somebody, who cares?
Yeah. If you're at a point in your career, it doesn't matter if you lose someone that is offended by your message.
I really don't care. Yeah. And so, in fact, it makes your community that much stronger too. Because
for sure, it makes your community stronger. I mean, there are things I want to say that I don't say.
Dude, just say them.
Not saying them, but anyway.
Well, okay, but here's the deal about that. So, faith to me is different. Okay, like we're talking way bigger than business and everything.
Right.
When people get all worked up about politics, that's a whole different ballgame.
That's kind of what I'm talking about. That's what I'm not talking about.
All right. So I'm with you there. Like for me, when I make a video about Biden or Trump, it always gets a funny reaction. I'll still make them because I don't care.
Yeah.
But I like to think when I talk about it, I'm very neutral. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, here's the facts. Okay, this is why Biden's tax proposal is really stupid. Yeah. And whether you voted for him or not, here's why you're about to get screwed by this. And so I'll just make the video because I don't care.
Well, I was gonna say, like, what's interesting about it is that you kind of mentioned, right? You're not gonna be paying taxes. You're doing these things to reduce your taxable income.
Yeah.
And so, like, everyone that votes, like, hey, let's raise taxes. No one that knows what they're doing is paying taxes.
Yeah.
So it only passes back onto the middle class who voted for those tax policies.
So we just filmed a podcast with Matt, my partner at True Books, and we talked about all the different proposals that Biden's talking about passing, because people want to know, right? And in the video, we talk about how, right? Look at real estate, right? Who's getting hurt the most in real estate right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
The people that want to buy a first-time home.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, those people are getting hurt the most because of current policy. And I said that in the podcast. Maybe it'll be out by the time this goes too. Like, look, everything we see today was Trump's issue. Like, the fact that during his administration, we printed all this money. We did all these things. We shut down the economy, even though he didn't want to shut it down. But, we did those things.
Happened during his presidency.
His presidency. And now, a year later, we are seeing the repercussions of that. Yeah. Okay? And so there's no inventory. There's no, there's so much money in the world that they're bidding up these houses. Okay? I'll tell you, all my rich friends are buying houses and selling houses like hotcakes, and they're living large. I'm building a house on a mountain, okay? And it ain't because I'm just like this great real estate investor. It's because of these circumstances.
Right.
I'm making more money than I've ever had because our flips just sell for 30, 40 grand more than I thought.
Because of the policies.
Because of the policies. But my point was, okay, you can still blame Trump for what we see today, but what Biden is proposing is going to amplify it.
No, it's going to make it worse.
It's going to make it worse, and there's no doubt about it. You cannot debate. There's just not even debate. I don't even care what anyone says.
Yeah.
Because the moment you start trying to force higher capital gains, you try to force no 1031s, well, guess what people do? They don't sell. And so guess what happens when people don't sell? There's no inventory.
Yeah.
Guess what happens when there's no inventory? Prices keep going up.
And first-time home buyers get screwed.
And they get screwed. It is what it is, and there's not really much to do about it. The only way you could stop it is, let free market play out the way free market's supposed to play out. Rates are so low, they're gonna keep pressing things and stimulus, and it just is what it is, man. And I'm happy to talk about it and share it, and just I just spit facts, dude.
Yeah,
that's it.
So the last thing is, what are you excited about right now?
I would say I'm most excited about, the launch of Lunar Ecom and Pineda Capital, because I've been working on those for the last bunch of months. And anytime you launch new businesses and stuff, it's great. So I'm super excited about those. But, I'm also really excited about taking social media to an even bigger level.
How can it get even bigger?
Trust me, there's a lot of things. So, it's officially like a year today since I was like, hey, I'm doing this. Okay, it's been a year. So with any business, right, once you're a year in, you have a lot of data to tell you, hey, this worked, this didn't, here's how we should adjust, whatever, right? So for the last year, I've been essentially winging it, testing, and it's done well. But now I know how to optimize. And so I was alluding to it before, we built out the social media team in a new way. I am now, when I first started, I was spending $3,000 a month on editors and stuff. I've raised the budget to $40,000 a month. Yeah. So there's definitely ways to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And, I have enough videos now and knowledge to say, hey, this is what people want to see. And I'll just say, you're going to see totally different content now.
Yeah. Be exciting to see.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to get a hold of you or find you, What's the best way? Your cell phone? I'm just kidding.
Of course. We talked about a lot of different businesses today, so I'm not going to list them all. Like, go to this.
No.
Easiest way to do it is just go to ryanpineda.com. From there, you can see all my socials. You can see all my businesses. You can contact me directly. If you want, to work with one of my businesses, you can just email. I'm trying to think what's the best email. Do I want all these? Yeah, you could just email me. So email ryan@ryanpineda.com. And, whether it's e-com, whether it's you want to go into our fund or education, whatever, I can point you in the right direction.
Awesome. All right, guys. Again, if you guys got value today, please like, subscribe, share, comment. It helps us, helps the algorithms. We can help more people. Thank you. This is fun, as always.
As always, man.